You know your body better than anyone. You've lived in it for 6, 7, maybe even 8 decades. You've felt every ache, every wrinkle form, every change in rhythm. But there's one quiet signal that even the wisest among us often miss, a signal that hides behind something we all brush off. An itch, that's right. Not a rash, not a visible wound, just an itch. And here's the truth most doctors won't tell you, especially in rushed appointments or quick checkups. Sometimes an itch isn't just dry skin. Sometimes it's not just age. Sometimes it's your body's way of whispering, something is wrong. I want to share with you what I've learned from the trenches of medicine and the heart of what I call elderly wisdom. A term that means knowing how to listen, not just to doctors, but to your own body. Because what seems like a small annoyance might actually be your body's first attempt to save your life. Take Mr. James Holloway, a 76-year-old retired teacher. Every morning, around 3 a.m., he would wake up to a maddening itch on the front of his lower legs. Not his feet, not a rash. Just deep, restless itching that creams couldn't touch. His wife bought every moisturizer on the shelf. He tried soaking in warm baths or compression socks, even changed his laundry detergent, but nothing worked. What James didn't realize, and what many don't, is that this specific type of itch is often linked to lymphoma, a cancer that affects the lymphatic system. You see, as we age, our immune system becomes more sensitive to internal inflammation. That itch wasn't on his skin. It was deep under it. His lymphatic system was inflamed, quietly brewing trouble. That's what makes elderly wisdom so vital. We've been taught to declutter our homes after 60, to keep safe pathways and remove trip hazards. We follow senior decluttering rules for our closets and our kitchens. But how often do we declutter the way we interpret symptoms? How often do we organize the signs from our body the way we organize the cabinets? This is more than just health. It's about senior home safety in the truest sense, keeping our bodies as protected and aware as we do our living spaces. You wouldn't ignore a smoke alarm in your house. Don't ignore the alarm your skin is sounding. Itching that persists for more than 3 weeks, gets worse at night, doesn't respond to anti-itch creams, may not be just getting old. It could be a warning sign from within. James listened. It got checked. And he was lucky. His lymphoma was caught early. With treatment, he recovered fully. So here's what I want you to do tonight, before bed. Not tomorrow. Not when you remember. Tonight, take a moment to reflect. Where do you feel discomfort? Is it new? Has it been lingering for weeks without explanation? Does it come alive when the house is quiet, when you're lying still? This isn't paranoia. This is preparation. Just like we embrace a clutter-free living environment for peace and safety, we must also cultivate a clutter-free awareness of our health. Don't let habit and assumption pile up over real signs that something's off. Because your life, your years of wisdom, your stories, your presence is far too important to gamble on chance. And if you're still with me, there's more you need to know. Because itching doesn't always stay in one place. Sometimes the pain isn't even where the problem is. In part 2, we'll talk about the back, the middle of your back, and the silent signal of one of the most dangerous cancers that seniors rarely catch in time. Stay with me. Your health is worth every word. The back that itches when the problem is deep inside. Sometimes the body speaks in whispers, and sometimes those whispers are misdirected. What feels like a skin issue might actually be something far beneath it, something hidden, internal, and urgent. That's exactly what happened to Dolores Freeman. Dolores was 68, living alone but sharp and self-sufficient. Her home was a model of home organization after 60, tidy, cozy, and peaceful. She kept a minimalist lifestyle, embraced all the downsizing tips seniors swear by, and prided herself on knowing her body well. So, when an odd itch began in the middle of her back, she noticed immediately. At first, she assumed it was her new sweater. Then the bedding. She replaced her mattress, cleaned every inch of her home, bought hypoallergenic detergent, and changed every pillowcase. Nothing worked. That itch, always in the same spot, kept showing up. And strangest of all, it started like clockwork. Right after dinner, that's when she came to me. She said, "Doctor, I've decluttered everything in my house to get rid of this itch. But now I'm wondering, maybe the clutter isn't around me. Maybe it's inside me." She was right. What Dolores was experiencing wasn't a skin irritation. It was referred itch. You see, the pancreas, an organ that plays a critical role in digestion, is deeply connected to the nerves in the mid-back. When something's wrong with the pancreas, it can show up as a persistent, unexplained itch right in that central back area. In her case, it was the earliest stage of pancreatic cancer. Caught just in time. This is where elderly wisdom comes in again. It's the wisdom of knowing that some pains, some signals, show up in disguise. And as we age, being able to distinguish between a surface-level nuisance and a silent, deeper warning can mean the difference between catching something early or too late. So what can you do? Here's what I tell all my patients. If you have an itch in the middle of your back that doesn't go away, if you've already ruled out allergies and changed your environment, if it worsens at the same time each day, especially after eating, if it pairs with signs like bloating, indigestion, or changes in appetite, then don't ignore it. Place your hand on that spot and press gently. Do you feel a heaviness? A discomfort that's not quite pain but not relief either? That's your cue. Go get checked. Our generation didn't grow up with endless information. We had to rely on gut feelings, stories from elders, and life experience. That kind of wisdom is still priceless. Today, we might talk about healthy aging lifestyles or senior home safety, but those lessons go beyond railings in the bathroom or clutter-free hallways. They also apply to recognizing symptoms that don't scream, they whisper. Dolores, like many others, was used to solving problems the traditional way. Eliminate the external causes. And that's a good first step. But when it doesn't work, you need to ask yourself a harder question. What if the source is deeper? Pancreatic cancer is one of the most dangerous cancers because it's hard to detect early. But when you know where to listen and, more importantly, when not to dismiss something as just another old age nuisance, you increase your chances of staying ahead. Let's keep this simple. If your back is itchy and you've already tried everything externally, it's time to turn inward. And now that you understand the back, let's keep going. Because the next place where silent warnings often show up is even more surprising and more delicate. Your scalp. It seems harmless, right? Maybe it's your shampoo. Maybe it's dryness. But as we'll uncover in the next part, the scalp, especially behind the ears and neck, can be a major indicator of something much more serious. Stay with me, because elderly wisdom means we keep learning, even when the signs are uncomfortable, especially then. The scalp that whispers of something deeper. We scratch our heads when we're puzzled, when we're tired, when we're stressed. But what if the itch you feel isn't a habit, but a hint? That's what happened to Harold McBride, a 73-year-old widower living in the same farmhouse his father built. He lived a quiet life, followed every piece of advice for a healthy aging lifestyle, and kept a routine most would admire. But every night, like clockwork, he'd lie down and feel an itch behind his ears that wouldn't go away. He changed shampoos, switched conditioners, washed his pillowcases daily, cut out products with fragrances, sulfates, and even skipped showering altogether for a few days just to test it out. Still, the itch remained. Worse yet, there was no redness, no flaking, no rash. Just that steady, creeping itch that seemed to grow stronger every time he lay back at night. At first, Harold laughed it off. "Maybe it's just dry skin," he said. But then the tiredness set in. He began bruising easily. One day, he cut himself shaving, and the bleeding took too long to stop. That's when he came to me. We ran some tests. What we found was early-stage leukemia, a type of cancer that often starts with the overproduction of white blood cells. And in Harold's case, those excess inflammatory substances were stimulating the tiny nerves in the scalp, especially behind the ears and neck. That's what was causing the itch. And just like that, what seemed like nothing turned out to be everything. This is why we talk about elderly wisdom. Because as we grow older, our signs and symptoms change too. What looks like a surface issue can actually be a sign of something systemic. And the key is learning how to listen. So ask yourself, have you been experiencing an itch on your scalp or behind the ears that seems unexplainable? Does it worsen when you lie down, especially at night? Have you tried every product on the shelf with no success? Then take a moment. Gently feel your scalp. If the itchy spot feels slightly warmer than the rest of your head, it might be your body responding to internal inflammation, not dry skin. And if you're also feeling unexplained fatigue, slow healing cuts, or unusual bruising, it's time to take action. You see, we spend a lifetime organizing our homes, following senior decluttering rules, and removing anything that could be hazard. But what about our health signals? What about the things we dismiss because we think we've seen it all? That itch might just be your first warning. And like Harold, many of us may find ourselves searching for external causes. Bad shampoo, poor sleep, dry winter air. But if the problem isn't on the outside, maybe it's time to look inward. Just like we strive for clutter-free living in our physical space, we need that same clarity in how we process our health. No more excuses. No more pushing things aside. You've earned the right to live with clarity inside and out. And so, as we move forward, let me ask you, have you ever felt an unexplained itch near your chest? Maybe where your shirt touches, or where your bra rests. Maybe you thought it was just the fabric or age, but what if it's more? In the next part, we explore the silent signs of one of the most overlooked yet aggressive cancers in seniors. Stay with me. Your body's trying to tell you something, and now you know how to listen. The chest itch that should never be ignored. There's something deeply personal about the chest area. It's where we feel our heartbeat, where we place our hands when we say, "I swear," or "I promise." It's also the place where many brush off discomfort, assuming it's from tight clothing, aging skin, or maybe just friction from fabric. That's exactly what Margaret Connors thought. At 69, Margaret lived with grace. She downsized her home. After retirement, followed every sensible piece of advice for clutter-free living, and embraced a routine of light yoga, herbal tea, and reading. Her days were quiet, her home peaceful. But there was one thing she couldn't make sense of: a nagging itch beneath her right breast. It started subtly, just a light irritation. She changed brass, cotton, silk, bamboo. She wore looser clothing, switched detergents, even stopped wearing a bra altogether. But the itch didn't go away. It stayed in one place. It got worse when she sat down to relax in the evening. And eventually, her skin began to feel different, thicker, almost textured. Still, there were no lumps, no pain, just that one persistent, peculiar itch. When Margaret finally saw a doctor, she was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. And in her case, there had been no traditional warning signs, only that silent, unyielding signal her body had been trying to send. This kind of cancer doesn't always show up with a lump. Sometimes it reveals itself as a slight swelling, redness, or a peau d'orange texture skin that looks like orange peel. Often, It begins around the nipples or under the breast, particularly on one side. And yes, it can cause localized itchiness. Long before anything else seems unusual, men aren't immune either. Male breast cancer, while rare, does occur. And in men over 60, persistent itching around the chest or nipples should never be dismissed. So here's what elderly wisdom teaches us yet again. Even when you've done all the right things, kept your space safe, followed senior home safety guidelines, practiced downsizing tips for seniors, and lived with intention, you must still listen to your body's quiet warnings. Here's what to look for. Is the itching only on one side of the chest? Does the skin look red, slightly swollen, or feel thicker? Is there a difference in color or texture between the two sides? Has it persisted longer than 3 weeks, despite creams or fabric changes? Then it's time to stand in front of the mirror. Not to criticize or scan for beauty, but to check for health. Compare, observe, and don't look away from discomfort, because Margaret didn't wait too long. Her cancer was caught early. She's now doing well, and more importantly, she's become a messenger for others, urging them to stop brushing things off just because they're aging. It's easy to dismiss these signs as just another quirk of getting older. But elderly wisdom means knowing the difference between normal changes and the ones that demand attention. It's not about fear. It's about respect for your body, your story, and the years still ahead of you. And as we continue, we'll move to one of the most private and often ignored areas of discomfort, the anal and reproductive regions. Many seniors suffer in silence here, too embarrassed to bring it up. But embarrassment has never cured a disease. And in the next part, I'll tell you the story of someone who waited too long. Don't let that be you. Keep listening. We're not done yet. The silent suffering no one talks about. Some discomforts we talk about openly: joint pain, digestion, memory lapses. But some we hide. Some we carry in silence, hoping they'll just go away. That was the case for Ronald Bishop, a 76-year-old grandfather who had lived with hemorrhoids for over 30 years. To him, a little itching in the anal area wasn't cause for concern. He chalked it up to flare-ups, treated it with creams, sat in warm baths, and went about his life. But this time, something felt different. It wasn't just the usual soreness. When sitting, it wasn't the same mild irritation. This time, Ronald said it felt like tiny needles pricking him, even when he was lying down or resting. The itch didn't wander. It didn't fade. It lived in one precise spot. And it grew, more intense at night. Still, he hesitated. Like many in his generation, Ronald believed some problems were better kept private. But elderly wisdom, the hard-earned knowledge that health is more valuable than pride, eventually urged him to speak up. After a full checkup, he received a diagnosis he hadn't expected: anal cancer. Cancer in the anal or reproductive regions is rarely discussed, and because of that silence, it's often discovered late. But it doesn't have to be. Here's how to tell the difference. With hemorrhoids or common inflammation, symptoms tend to come and go. They improve with proper treatment. With cancer, the itch stays localized, grows sharper over time, and does not respond to any cream or care. The discomfort might feel more like burning or stinging, especially at night. You might also notice bleeding during bowel movements or changes in the color or smell of discharge. For women, persistent itch in the vulva area, especially when there's no visible rash or infection, could be a sign of vulvar cancer. Like Ronald, many women assume it's age, dryness, or irritation. But if it doesn't get better in a few weeks, it's time to get checked. And let me say this clearly: there is no shame in seeking help. Not for these symptoms. Not for anything. We've spent years learning to live with less to declutter our homes, embrace simplicity, and let go of things we no longer need. That same mindset applies here too. This is decluttering, regret-free, removing hesitation, shame, and outdated beliefs that stop us from protecting ourselves. Your health is your legacy. You can't care for others or enjoy the richness of a healthy aging lifestyle if you're ignoring signs your body is trying to send. Every room in your house is worthy of order and safety, and every part of your body deserves that same attention. Ronald's story had a good ending. He got treated. It wasn't easy, but he's here today, telling his story so others won't delay like he did. If you're experiencing persistent itch in your private areas, don't whisper it away. Don't push it to the side. This is your life we're talking about. And before we end, there's one final area to cover. It's subtle, it's often overlooked, and yet, it might be the most telling sign of all. Your hands. Your feet. The very places where life begins and ends its rhythm each day. Stay with me for one more part. We're almost there. The itch in your hands and feet. When the extremes signal the core, we use our hands to hold, to create, to reach. We stand on our feet to greet the day, to carry the weight of our years. And yet, when these faithful extremities begin to whisper discomfort, just a small, steady itch, we rarely pause to listen. That's what happened to Eileen Rivers. She was 70, recently retired from a career in nursing, and lived alone in a beautifully downsized condo by the lake. Her days were peaceful. She had perfected the art of home organization. After 60, everything had its place. Everything was gentle on the senses. But in the stillness of her nights, she began to notice something strange. It started in her palms. Not the back of her hands. Not her arms, just her palms. They tingled with a fine, persistent itch. She assumed it was dry skin, maybe from too much hand washing. So she tried lotion, then more lotion. She wore cotton gloves to sleep. She soaked her hands in chamomile tea. She even changed her soap, her water temperature, and her cleaning habits. Still, the itch stayed. Quiet, steady, and always worse at night. Then came the solace of her feet. The same maddening feeling, like something beneath the skin trying to crawl out, but only in the lines and edges of her palms and solace. Still, she didn't panic. She chalked it up to age, or maybe her slippers. It wasn't until she noticed the skin tone shifting a faint yellowish tint and the lines of her palms looking deeper that she finally went in for a checkup. The diagnosis: a slow-moving but active internal cancer. The toxins from the cancer cells had begun circulating in her blood, irritating the peripheral nerves in her hands and feet. It wasn't a skin problem. It was systemic. That's why we say it again and again. Elderly wisdom is about listening to the little things, because in a world where we clear out our basements, rehome our old china sets, and follow senior decluttering rules with such discipline, we must also learn to clear out mental clutter, the belief that it's probably nothing, or I'm just getting older. Here's how you can tell if it might be something more. The itch is only on the palms or soles, not the whole hand or foot. Moisturizers, cool water, and rest offer no real relief. The skin begins to look yellowish or more textured. The itch worsens at night, but is mild during the day. And this is especially true if you're also experiencing weight loss, low appetite, fatigue, or any other odd symptoms. Sometimes it's not the intensity of the itch that matters, but its pattern. Eileen's cancer was found early. Her story is now part of many others who caught something in time simply by listening, documenting, and not brushing off discomfort. So, what now? You've heard about the 6 critical spots where itching could mean much more than dry skin. Your lower legs, your back, your scalp, your chest, your private areas, and your hands and feet. These aren't coincidences. They're signposts your body trying to communicate. But don't feel overwhelmed. There's a path forward. In the final part, I'll walk you through the 5 self-diagnostic steps, a simple checklist to help you sort through what's a nuisance and what's a red flag. Because wisdom isn't just what you know, it's what you do with it. We've cleared our homes. Now let's clear the confusion. One step at a time, the 5 self-diagnostic steps that could save your life. You've come this far because you understand something many overlook. Elderly wisdom isn't just about living longer. It's about living smarter, more attuned, more aware. And in a world where we declutter our shelves, our garages, our lives, the next essential step is learning how to declutter our understanding of symptoms, especially the ones we tend to ignore. If there's one thing I hope you carry forward from this journey, it's this. An itch can be more than an itch. It can be a signal. And to help you determine when to worry, here are 5 simple yet powerful self-diagnostic steps to follow. Step 1. The 3-week rule. This is your new golden rule. If an itch lasts more than 3 weeks and hasn't responded to lotions, ointments, or basic care, it's time to dig deeper. Most skin conditions will resolve or ease within 7 to 14 days. But if you mark your calendar and that itch crosses the 21-day mark without real improvement, you need to see a doctor. Don't wait until that is until the perfect time. Don't hope it just fades. Time is a luxury not to be wasted when it comes to your health. Step 2. The cream test. Apply a moisturizing lotion or anti-itch cream 2 or 3 times a day, consistently, for at least 1 week. If the itch improves, it's likely a surface issue. If it stays the same or gets worse, that points to an internal cause. And that's your signal. It's not the skin that's calling out. It's something deeper. This test is one of the simplest forms of home-based health organization. The same way we organize our closets after 60, we must organize our health concerns into normal and needs attention. Step 3. Check for side symptoms. Itchiness, especially when persistent, rarely comes alone. Ask yourself, have you unintentionally lost weight, maybe 3 to 5 kilograms within a month? Are you feeling more fatigued, even after sleep? Have you had a low-grade fever, night sweats, or chills? These symptoms don't always scream. They whisper. But when they show up with a persistent itch, the message is loud and clear. Check inside, not just outside. Step 4. Observe the itch pattern. Is your itch always in the same spot? Does it get worse at night, just when everything around you gets quiet? Cancer-related itchiness tends to remain localized, not shifting from place to place. Intensify at night, when your body slows and immune activity shifts. Track it. Write it down. Just like you'd make a list before following downsizing tips for seniors, make a timeline of your symptoms. These records can help your doctor see what you may have missed in daily life. Step 5. Know your family history. If your parents or siblings have had cancer, your risk can be 2 to 3 times higher. This doesn't mean you'll definitely face it, but it does mean you need to be more alert to early signs. That's not fear. That's preparation. In a world where we prioritize senior home safety, clear paths, and organized spaces, we must give that same level of clarity and care to our health history. Don't shrug off the "it's probably nothing" thought if your family has walked that road before. Now let me say this clearly. Not all itchiness is cancer, but some is. And every cancer started small. That's the paradox. The signs are often subtle, quiet, but they matter. And your ability to notice, reflect, and act, that's what elderly wisdom is truly about. So tonight, after this video, I invite you to take a moment. Check your skin. Reflect on your routines. Has something been bothering you that you've ignored? Is there a place that feels off, even if you can't explain why? You don't have to panic. You just have to pay attention, because the earlier we notice, the earlier we act. And now, I leave you with one final truth. In all my years, through all the patients I've seen and stories I've heard, one lesson keeps returning. You are your best advocate. Your body knows how to speak. You just have to listen. If this video helped you, even just a little, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so more people can learn these warning signs early. And if someone you love is over 60, please share this video with them. Let's grow older together. Not in fear, but in clarity, with wisdom, with strength. The next time your body itches, ask not just what lotion to apply, but what story it's trying to tell. And if you start now, what kind of life will you be living 1 year from today? One that's safer, clearer, and perhaps, thanks to one small decision, you'll still be here, healthy and living well. If you've made it this far, that tells me something about you. You're not just watching a video. You're paying attention. You care not just about growing older, but about growing wiser. And that, my friend, is the essence of elderly wisdom, because aging isn't about decline. It's about refinement. It's about removing the unnecessary, whether it's old habits, outdated beliefs, or physical clutter, and holding on to only what matters. Health, clarity, and presence. We talk so often about senior decluttering. Rules about downsizing, tips for seniors, about how to create clutter-free living environments to reduce risk, promote calm, and ensure safety. But it's not just about furniture or closets. It's about health, too. It's about decluttering the noise that tells us it's just aging, when in fact, our bodies are asking us to slow down, observe, and act. It's about organizing our self-care with the same intentionality we give our homes. Because a truly safe life, one grounded in senior home safety, starts not with your furniture, but with your choices. Now that you know the 6 key itchy warning zones. The lower legs, a signal for lymphoma. The middle back, quietly calling attention to the pancreas. The scalp, especially behind the ears, hinting at leukemia. The chest, with its silent sign of inflammatory breast cancer. The private areas, whispering, of overlooked reproductive cancers. And the palms and solace, where systemic diseases reach out to us from the inside. What you choose to do next matters more than anything you've done before. You might be tempted to shrug it off again, to close this tab, to tell yourself, I'm probably fine. But elderly wisdom doesn't just acknowledge age, it respects. It trusts that you've learned enough in this life to know when a whisper is worth leaning into. So tonight, or maybe tomorrow morning, take 5 quiet minutes. Scan your body. Review the 5 steps. Pay attention not just to where it itches, but when, how, and why. Mark a calendar. Make a note. Set a reminder to follow up. And above all, don't wait out of fear or pride. If something feels wrong, check it. Don't tough it out. You've done enough of that in this life. Your health is your power, your peace, your future. And if this video touched you, helped you, or taught you something new, I ask just one small thing in return. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. Share this with someone you love. Someone who may be quietly wondering about their own symptoms. Someone who may need a nudge. Someone who, like you, still has time and a future worth protecting. Together, let's build a wiser, healthier world. Not just for the elderly, but for the wise. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll dive deep into the overlooked symptoms of joint pain, digestion, and fatigue that too many brush off as just age. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, stay well, because you are not done yet. Not even close.